Did you know that 73% of serial killers had troubled relationships with their mothers? Well, Norman Bates takes that statistic and cranks it up to 11. What started as a fresh beginning for a mother and son quickly spiraled into one of television's most twisted psychological horror stories. I remember watching the first episode thinking this would be a simple mother-son drama. Shock on me. Within minutes, we see Norma Bates bludgeon her rapist to death with a blender. That's when I knew this show would mess with my head for 5 seasons straight. This series took everything we thought we knew about Norman Bates and flipped it completely. Season 1, the story kicks off with Norma Louise Bates and her 17-year-old son Norman moving to White Pine Bay, Oregon, after purchasing the infamous Bates Motel. Right from episode 1, you realize this family carries more baggage than a luxury hotel. Norma's not your ordinary protective mother. She's manipulative, controlling, and has this unsettling way of treating Norman more like a husband than a son. I took notice of their relationship right from day one, but Vera Farmiga's performance was so compelling that I couldn't look away. The town of White Pine Bay seems picture perfect on the surface, but scratch a little deeper and you'll find it's rotting from the inside. There's a massive drug operation running through the area, and somehow the Bates family gets tangled up in it immediately. Norman's not the calculated killer we know from Psycho yet. He's still this awkward teenager trying to fit in, but there are warning signs everywhere. His blackouts start early, and during these episodes, he becomes someone entirely different. The show brilliantly plants these seeds of his future personality without making it obvious. The relationship between Norman and his half-brother Dylan creates this interesting dynamic. Dylan sees right through Norma's manipulation, but Norman remains completely under her spell. Watching their family dinners felt like witnessing a slow-motion car crash. Then there's Emma Ducote, Norman's first real friend who suffers from cystic fibrosis. Her character brings this innocent sweetness to the show that makes everything else seem even darker by comparison. You find yourself hoping she'll somehow save Norman, even though you know how his story ends. Season 2, moving into the second season, the psychological horror really ramps up. Norman's blackouts become more frequent and more violent. The writers did something brilliant here. They made us witness his mental deterioration through his own confused perspective. Norma's past starts catching up with her, and we learn about the abuse she suffered. This is where the show gets really complex, because you start understanding why she became the way she is. Suddenly, her overprotective nature makes sense, even if her methods are completely twisted. The introduction of Norman's teacher, Miss Watson, creates this pivotal moment in his development. Their inappropriate relationship showcases how Norman views women, either as mother figures to be protected or threats to be eliminated. When Miss Watson ends up dead, we're left wondering if Norman killed her during one of his blackouts. This season also explores the drug trade more deeply, with Dylan getting involved with the local growers. The contrast between Dylan's world of actual criminals and Norman's internal psychological warfare creates this fascinating parallel. Both brothers are surrounded by violence, but Norman's comes from within. Sheriff Romero becomes a crucial character here. His complex relationship with Norma adds another layer to the show's twisted family dynamics. You can see he's genuinely trying to help, but he's also attracted to Norma's dangerous energy. The season finale left me completely shaken. Norman's confession about killing Miss Watson, followed by his immediate denial, perfectly captures his fractured mental state. You're watching someone lose their grip on reality in real time. Season 3. By season 3, Norman's condition has a name, dissociative identity disorder. But knowing the diagnosis somehow makes everything more terrifying. The show starts playing with our perception of reality, making us question what's real and what's happening inside Norman's fractured mind. The relationship between Norman and Mother becomes more defined. We see him having full conversations with someone who isn't there, and the way Freddie Highmore switches between Norman and Mother is absolutely chilling. You can literally see the moment when Mother takes control. Norma finally acknowledges that something is seriously wrong with her son, but her solution is usually twisted. She wants to protect him by keeping him isolated. Their codependency reaches new levels of dysfunction, and you realize that Norma's love is actually destroying them both. Emma's relationship with Dylan provides the only healthy romance in the entire series. Their scenes together feel like brief moments of sunlight in an otherwise dark nightmare. You find yourself clinging to their happiness because everything else is falling apart. The introduction of Dr. Edwards brings hope that Norman might actually get help, but Norma's interference ensures that any progress gets sabotaged. Watching her undermine Norman's treatment while claiming to protect him is incredibly frustrating. This season also explores Norman's sexuality and his confusion about his feelings toward his mother. The show handles this delicately, but doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable implications. It's psychological horror at its finest, disturbing but impossible to ignore. Season 4. The fourth season feels like the calm before the inevitable storm. Norman seems more stable, working at the motel and trying to live a normal life, but we know better. The show has taught us that Norman's good periods are just the prelude to something much worse. Norma's relationship with Sheriff Romero becomes serious, and for a moment it seems like she might actually find happiness. Their marriage provides this brief glimpse of what a normal life might look like for the Bates family. But happiness and the Bates family don't mix. The introduction of Julian Massett and his disturbed daughter bring new chaos to White Pine Bay. Suddenly, Suddenly, Norman doesn't seem like the most dangerous person in town, which is saying something. Yet watching him interact with another deeply disturbed individual shows how far he's progressed down his dark path. Emma's health deteriorates, leading to a lung transplant that saves her life. Her recovery and relationship with Dylan provide the season's emotional anchor. They represent everything that Norman and Norma could have been if they'd made different choices. Norman's jealousy over his mother's marriage reveals how possessive he's become. The wedding scene is particularly unsettling because you can see him calculating, planning. Mother's influence is getting stronger, and Norman's grip on his own identity is slipping away. The season builds toward Norman's final break from reality. His murder of Audrey Ellis Deckety marks the point where Norman fully becomes the killer we know from Psycho. There's no going back after this moment. Season 5, the final season, jumps forward 2 years, and Norman has completely transformed into the character we recognize from Hitchcock's film. Mother now controls most of his actions, and Norman exists only in brief moments of clarity. Romero's quest for revenge against Norman creates the season's driving tension. He knows Norman killed Norma, but proving it means confronting someone who's completely detached from reality. Their cat-and-mouse game provides some of the series' most intense moments. The return of Dylan forces Norman to confront what he's become. Their final confrontation is heartbreaking because you can see glimpses of the brother Dylan once knew, but Mother has taken over completely. Emma's return with her daughter provides the emotional gut punch the series needed. Seeing Norman interact with this innocent child while we know what he's capable of creates unbearable tension. You want to scream at Emma to run, but she still sees the sweet boy she once knew. The series finale brings everything full circle. Norman's final conversation with Mother, where he finally chooses to end the cycle of violence, provides a surprisingly redemptive conclusion to such a dark story. His decision to die rather than hurt anyone else shows that somewhere deep inside, the real Norman still existed. In my opinion, Bates Motel accomplished something remarkable, made us empathize with a monster. By showing Norman's journey from troubled teenager to serial killer, it forced us to confront uncomfortable questions about mental illness, family dysfunction, and the nature of evil itself. The performances were absolutely phenomenal. Vera Farmiga and Freddie Highmore created one of television's most complex and disturbing relationships. Their chemistry was so believable that it made the show's uncomfortable moments even more effective. What struck me most about this series was how it never excused Norman's actions while still helping us understand them. It showed how trauma and mental illness can destroy lives without ever suggesting that these factors justify violence. The show also served as a brilliant deconstruction of the original Psycho. Through exploring the backstory, it added layers to Hitchcock's classic while creating something entirely new. It proved that sometimes prequels can enhance rather than diminish their source material. Looking back, Bates Motel was never really about Norman becoming a killer. It was about watching a family destroy itself through love, manipulation, and the inability to break destructive cycles. Every character in the show was trapped by their past, but some found ways to escape while others sank deeper into darkness. The series asked difficult questions about responsibility, mental health, and whether people can truly change their nature. Norman's story is tragic because you can see moments where different choices might have led to different outcomes. But perhaps that's what made it so compelling. We kept hoping that somehow, some way, Norman would find a different path. The fact that we cared about a character destined to become a monster speaks to the show's incredible writing and performances. What did you think of Norman's journey from innocent teenager to iconic killer? Did the show change how you view the original Psycho? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.